Can you give the member the mic? Okay, go on.
Sorry. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the motion under item 8, the report on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, and the Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption GOPAC meeting in March 2023 held in Doha. I beg to move this report.
No, I beg to move the following motion.
Yes, sorry, beg your
Then
pardon.
read the motion as it is.
Yes, sir.
Then start telling the House what it is all about.
I beg to move this motion
Okay.
as it is.
No. Read the motion as it is on the order paper. Give him the mic. I beg to move
Sorry,
the
Mr.
following
Speaker,
motion.
sir.
Yes.
I beg to move the motion that this House notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the Parliamentary Dialogue on United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, and the Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption Annual General Meeting held in Doha, Qatar, from the 8th to the 9th of March 2023, as laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 26th of April, 2023, sir.
Excellent. Now proceed to elucidate your facts.
Thank you, your Speaker, sir. I should have known that. I beg your apologies of my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, sir, the world over, the cancer of corruption has been exponentially spread in developing countries with devastating socio-economic and governance consequences. It persists in developing countries despite the proliferation of legal and institutional and other measures that have been put into place to fight corruption. In mitigation, the United Nations Convention Against Corruption was initiated in 2003 and has been recognized as a reference framework for the fight against corruption. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenya was one of the first countries who signed this convention. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption implementation requires the participation of political stakeholders such as GOPAC and APNAC and reflects the conviction of the state parties that the anti-corruption measures should be embedded and coordinated in policies instead of being carried out in isolation or in an ad hoc manner. It is against this background of the 2023 Doha Dialogue was organized to address the underlying issues of Parliament and parliamentarians' engagement with the UNCAC. The event drew a strong focus on implementation and good practices to address corruption by parliamentarians, especially GOPAC and APNAC parliamentarians. It was the following observations were raised: that the implementation of the UNCAC provisions are weak, that the international cooperation at best, especially with regard to money laundering, asset recovery, asset declaration, and beneficial ownership, is also weak, that the funding of the major anti-corruption activities in developing countries is weak and inconsistent, that the restrictions on the participation of civil societies and media are increasing, that APNAC Kenya was applauded for the pace-setting activities carried out to strengthen the capacity of Kenyan parliamentarians and the executive institutions to prevent corruption and prevent and combat corruption. In this regard, the Speaker of the National Assembly was congratulated and awarded a prestigious award in honor of his efforts to unite Kenya legislators against corruption. Mr. Speaker, sir, APNAC, which is African Parliamentarians Against Corruption, is one of the oldest caucuses in Parliament since 1999, and we have a number of parliamentarians who are members, and we feel very strongly that every parliamentarian has a desire to fight corruption, and we welcome their initiatives. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is time for the international community to seriously explore establishing a permanent anti-corruption council similar to that of the Human Rights Council at the United Nations. Mr. Speaker, sir, the leadership of Kenya is urged to strengthen the initiatives and activities that promote ethical values, integrity, transparency, good governance, and patriotism, enforcing them in the education framework to develop the mindset and attitudes of Kenyans, especially school-going children and youth. Mr. Speaker, adopting the Republic of Rwanda model, the Kenya members of parliament who have actually headed this fight against corruption in the whole of Africa and should have the capacity and enhanced through regular training in sessions and in collaboration with the Ombudsman Office and the Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority. Mr. Speaker, sir, members of APNAC have been facilitated through your good office to promote transparency and accountability and good governance among not only parliamentarians among themselves, but at the national and international level. APNAC Kenya chapter engages as many parliamentarians as possible, and as I said, all members of parliament are our members. We have 30 or so active members. APNAC Kenya should expand its activities to include promotional cultural and Christian and Muslim values to enforce them in the mindset. The parliamentary leadership at the office of the Honourable Speaker should promote the role of parliamentarians and other legislative bodies in the management of public financing. There is need to work harder to demonstrate that parliamentarian oversight is needed during the outside emergency crisis. And the Kenyan Parliament was actually applauded for the work that they have done in APNAC. Mr. Speaker, sir, the members who went to this particular workshop, who attended the workshop and represented the Parliament so well were myself as the leader of the delegation. We had Mr. Bernard Kitur as one of the members, and a third member, which the name where is it? I've lost that particular. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, the long and short of this is that APNAC is a strong caucus of Parliament, and we plead with members of Parliament to support us in all our activities, both within Parliament and nationally. Mr. Speaker, I ask my colleague, Honourable Nyakal, to second me in this motion.
Honourable Nyakal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support